G'day viewers, today we're out on the tracks searching for history and campsites along the Loddon River.
Oh, that's an interesting hill. Boom.
Boom. G'day viewers, today we're out again with the Life Off-Road crew. We've got Steve from Darchi, Tim from Lanatech, Pete from Road Safe, and Steve from Austrac Campers. We're up along the Loddon River searching for gold mining history and campsites, and it all starts here on the infamous up and down track. Now today we're towing the Simpson X, Austrac Campers' toughest little camper trailer, and it's a sensational little unit.
It's an absolute cracker of a day. Beautiful sunshine, not a cloud in the sky, barely a breath of wind, and really looking forward to spinning out on the tracks.
It's incredibly picturesque here. The beautiful trees, the light filtering through, creating shadows, making the whole thing look just so beautiful.
As a Queenslander, coming down to Victoria doing some forward driving, can't wait. I'm going to passenger with Simon. We'll be towing the Simpson X and getting out, doing some exploring, having a look at some gold digs, some monuments here and there, a few creeks, a few nice camp spots. Cannot wait, completely different to what I'm used to. We don't have the heritage, I suppose, with the goldfields and things like that, Ned Kelly country and all that kind of stuff in Queensland. We've got all the outback stuff, so it's all desert, fantastic beaches. But it's completely different for me to come down and see this part of Australia, I suppose. Always wanted to do it, never had the chance to, so I can't wait.
The forest we drove through this morning, yeah, really interesting countryside, lots of steep hills and deep gullies. Like a roller coaster, down then up, down then up. Good fun. Lots and lots of creeks and ups and downs and twists and turns. The forest itself is quite dense, so the track's weaved in and out of some quite tight tree spots. Tracks weren't overly challenging, but it's always nice to have a nice forest drive and be out in the bush.
Going out with the IVECO, the beast, phenomenal. Cannot believe how this thing handles. Pulls like a steam train, goes pretty well everywhere. A little bit wide, so there's a few ducking and weaving for tree branches, but as far as a setup goes, it's absolutely awesome vehicle.
So today was extremely dusty. We all had our lights on, which helped because you could see tail lights through the dust, but at some points the dust is so thick you literally had no idea where the track was.
Hey Tim, we know how good Lanatech is in wet, sloppy, muddy conditions at protecting your vehicle against corrosion, but how does it go in dusty conditions?
Yeah, it's a good question, Simon, and we actually do get that a lot because, as you'd expect, lanolin being a little bit tacky tends to attract the dust, but what a lot of people tend to sort of not understand is that the dust is then sticking to the lanolin and it's not actually attaching itself to the chassis or any of your critical parts. So when it comes time to wash it, you wash it off and that dust will just come straight off the top layer of lanolin.
And you've got four main products, which one's the most suitable one to use?
Well, I'm a self-used Steel Seal for full driving, so in and around your full drive, you want the least tackiest product. And Steel Seal we've carefully developed to actually have a nice sort of non-tack film, so it's dry to the touch. So once it's applied properly, nice and thin, you're left with a nice fine film, and after about 24 hours, you're left with a quite dry film that's dry to the touch.
So no matter what terrain, what conditions you're facing, try and get the Lanatech on at least a day before you go.
Yes, ideally I think that's the best way to go about it. Typically people tend to leave it to the last minute, which doesn't really help the situation, but certainly Steel Seal's a go. Out of all the Lanatech products, it does a fantastic job at protecting the vehicle, and if you can do it a couple of days out, then you'll get the best performance out of the product and your vehicle.
You can just imagine back in the day these hills being chock-a-block full of hopeful prospectors scratching away in the dirt, hoping that some of these creek beds, here we go dropping into another one, contain fortune in gold to make all the hardship of trudging all the way out here from Melbourne worthwhile. And I'll tell you, by looking at the ground, it's pretty dry, it'd be pretty hard.
All right, not much further up along here, we should be coming up on an old chimney. Now I reckon it's a pub, probably about 100 years old. Let's see if we can find it.
Nice little campfire. Ah, look, there's a chimney. There we go. That's what he's talking about.
We came down a long decline into a bit of a cleared area, and right in the middle of the cleared area there's this beautiful old chimney.
Simon suggested it was probably from a hotel type of arrangement because of its size.
And it was amazing to see the craftsmanship and the workmanship that went into it, and that it could still be standing 160 odd years later. You can still see where they had the crossbeam through it, where they would have been hanging all their cooking pots off of. You can still see the chimney itself. It's nice and clear all the way to the top.
You've got this amazing structure, and just a little bit sad to see this crack running down through here, which actually looks pretty fresh. It's well built, it's lasted well over 100 years, but maybe only a couple more decades in that. So guys, get out and explore these areas, come and see stuff like this, well worth a trip.
At a couple of spots, you could clearly see traces of diggings from years gone by.
Another little dig out here you'll see, and funnily enough, right next to the tree. They've dug through the roots here. So the theory is that as the tree is growing, any gold that's down deep, the tree roots will actually pick that up and pull it with it. Prospectors will come out here with their metal detectors and specifically look around the base of trees, especially older trees, see what they can find. Looks like somebody might have got lucky here.
It's obviously quite a popular site still amongst all the gold hunters out here, and we got to have a look at really some of the areas that these prospectors are out hunting for gold in the region and see some of these holes they're leaving around for us to trip in.
Just off behind the actual chimney was about 3 or 4 dugouts.
There were mullock heaps, there was remnants of old shafts, there was big lumps of quartz lying around everywhere.
Some of the quartz I picked up had small veins in them. If I'd had a hammer, I'd have probably cracked them open. The purity of the quartz just tells you that, hey, there's gold in them here hills.
This is a beautiful little spot. I'd imagine being a gold miner back in the day, you would have come across a little gorge like this and just thought all your Christmases had come at once.
To get out of your car, walk along and have a look at some of these things that are outside the car is almost paramount because there's a lot more to see.
Let's take a walk down along here, we'll check out the diggings and see what we can see up along the gorge.
Must have been like an old mining camp or something. It was a beautiful spot.
Have a look at the amount of work it would have taken to shift all this rock.
It'd be something that you and I would do probably today in a D9 dozer. Big fossilised tree down by the river, which is absolutely awesome. When you first look at it, you think it's a rock. It's not, it's actually a tree.
Creek really is still in good shape. You can obviously see where it's flooded in the past, but there's still a good amount of water in there for December. Enough so that the dogs and little Nicky were able to get in the water and have a swim.
As you walked along the creek, you could see evidence of where they had used the natural features of the creek to create sluice points or natural collection points of the gold as it rushed down. Just a magic spot. And if I was back in the 1850s being a gold miner, I reckon I would have camped there for quite a while, regardless of how much luck I was having.
It's a nice little sort of off-road section to get out of there, which was great to test out the car.
Alrighty, here we go. It was easy because we've got the right tyre pressures, we've got well set up vehicles, we've got good suspension lifts.
Pete, the Blackhawk upper control arms are a pretty important addition for IFS vehicles, aren't they?
I would say they're almost mandatory for any lifted IFS vehicle.
What sort of difference do they actually make?
You've lifted the vehicle and lost caster, and they start to get a bit wandery and tram tracky. So putting the caster back in restores your drivability.
It basically puts a lifted vehicle back to factory settings, but it's also stronger, isn't it?
Yeah, they're also about 1.5 times stronger or more. One of the biggest advantages is it's ADR compliant. If you're going four-wheel driving and taking things seriously, look at a quality aftermarket upper control arm.
What this morning was just a innocuous little forest drive suddenly turned into something where you had to pay attention, watch where your wheels were placed.
Some of the climbs were, I wouldn't say easy,
Guys, you're definitely going to need low range for this one.
but the IVECO just powered up them.
Just coming down a nice shaly hill. Oh, I found some sort of old relic. Well, that's a boiler tank, you can tell from the rivets. This one's just go slowly and hold on to the bottom.
Following the little step out of the creek, we headed up to a good little play area with a number of different tracks, heading up a bit of a steep incline and descent. Got to get a good view of Simon trying to tackle one of the little play inclines. Figured out he couldn't get up halfway up and had to sort of take a second shot at it. And then we got to see some of his reversing skills with the trailer. We were certainly there giving him as much advice as we could, and that's why we're here. Oh, Simon, taking the easy road again.
Don't know how we'll go with the wheel clearance on this, but we'll give it a go. Testing the vehicles in terms of their suspension limits, testing the grip of the tyres, and obviously testing the skill of the drivers. It was a lot of fun. Oh yeah, no problem.
Sat at the top just watching old Pete go for it. Sorry, young Pete go for it.
No problem.
Yeah, well, just a bit close to this tree. So following the play area, we headed down some nice rutty areas, which again, good to see the IFS vehicles and the solid axle vehicle and the GU and see how they perform differently up these ruts.
I let my emotions run away today and ended up wearing a Christmas hat and a Christmas top. Created a few laughs and got a bit of ridiculing, but that's okay.
With his Santa outfit, had the shirt and the hat and everything was happening and ran around. So we're waiting for the pants to come off, but they never did. He stuck to the vest and the hat. You know, in the GU Patrol, you really don't feel it. We've got coils all round, so it gives you a really good ride through these rutted areas. And a lot of the times you don't really feel the ruts, you know, the body of the car sort of just floats along nicely.
With the IVECO, we did a couple of big climbs today, and remembering it is towing the Simpson trailer as well, one of our most popular little units with Austrac. Perfect for the young couple, or the other couple too. Rooftop tent, comes in two sizes. You've got a 1.8 metre or a 2.2 metre. You've got 270 awning on it. It comes fully plumbed. You've got a cold water with pump, 100 litre water tank, 2-burner gas cooker. Really good unit. It's got twin recovery points on the back of it, which are rated at 3.5 tonne per recovery point. The off-road suspension, it's full chassis, indestructible. Towing up and down, big ruts, everything else. With the independent suspension, the way it's set up, it follows your wheel tracks, so wherever you go, it goes. It gets on weird angles, never worried about it tipping over, never worried about any form of damage whatsoever. It just did what it was meant to do. It tows really well, heaps of fun. It'll go wherever you want to go. Brilliant trailer, can't fault them.
towards the end of the day, we were starting to look for campsites, and we went down this one track. It was quite long, it was relatively straight, lots of off-camber ruts and that sort of stuff. Got to the bottom, unfortunately there was no campsite there, so we turned around and came back up it again. Give the guys a bit of gap between each car, just so if one of us gets into trouble, got some room to move.
Towing up and down, Dale, big ruts, everything else. Simpson behind the IVECO with independent suspension set up in it. It actually walks, it follows your wheel tracks, so wherever you go, it goes. It gets on weird angles, never worried about it tipping over, just did what it was meant to do.
Headed into what was a raging rapid creek crossing, and our expectations were built up into something monstrous. Came around the corner to see what was a tiny little puddle.
Last time Simon was out in this area, the creek that we came to was flowing quite heavily. Unfortunately, when we got there today, it was quite subdued.
But it was a nice little step into the creek, and obviously went through that no dramas again. Good to see the other cars going through it.
And then up a really rocky exit, one of those ones where you pause and go, oh, better leave some distance here, because if a car spits a rock out, it's going to land straight in my lap. Gave ourselves some space, enjoyed the little rocky climb out of the causeway at Porcupine Creek, and continued on our merry way.
The track we just did was called Italian Hill Track. Not too challenging, but a nice little four-wheel drive track.
Following Pete's little escapade with the Santa costume, we headed down to a campsite.
Lush and green and ferns and trees and blue skies and sunshine, everything's fabulous.
Got down there, was able to check out the river, and nice, as I said, it's one of the many rivers in this area.
The Loddon River in all its glory. Not Australia's biggest waterway, but certainly a ripper place to come down and camp.
Good looking campsite, just wasn't big enough for what we needed with the IVECO and the other vehicle.
It was on a bit of an angle as well, so with a camper trailer and some rooftop tents, didn't really suit our needs.
Not a bad campsite, eh guys?
Yeah, pretty good.
I reckon we might be able to find a better one, just down the track a bit though.
I'm keen to check that out.
Let's go take a look.
Let's do it.
Done.
Not being the camp we wanted, it still gave us an opportunity to hit the fireplace with some Lanatech heavy duty. Been a great product, especially for use around the camp. Environmentally friendly, food grade, salt and acid resistant, and resists wash off.
Being all natural, it's also food grade quality, so you can waterproof the barbecue and ready for the next person who comes along. The Simpson X is easy to set up, it's definitely easy to tow. We're really impressed with how it's handled everything we've thrown at it. It's comfortable, convenient, and a great way to tour Australia.
It's a sharp left-hander with a steep drop-off into a campsite.
Steve, pretty dusty and hot conditions out here today. It'd be awesome to have a shower at camp tonight.
It would, and we've just released a perfect product to help you with that. Darchi Eclipse Cube Shower Tent. An amazing bit of kit. Mounts permanently to your car via your roof racks. It's a really quick and easy setup. Got a roof, LED light inside, lots of pockets. The internal walls are lined with a heavy duty blackout material or blackout lining so that there's no shadows cast when you're inside. It's nice and private. The roof is optional. You can peel that back if it's a beautiful day like today and you want to enjoy the view while you're having a quick shower. The walls are weighted so they won't blow around in the wind. They're nice and long so you've got plenty of coverage. You can see on the Prado behind me, it basically goes from ground to roof. So even in the tallest or shortest of people, you're going to have privacy when you're showering, using it as a change room, whatever you might do with it.
Now the campsite's all set up and it's looking good, and cooking some sausages, have a few snacks before dinner and bed.
First time doing any four-wheel driving in Victoria has been a really good experience. Can't wait to get back.